Hello, and good eve. Normally, on a night such as this, you would be hearing the inane percolation of buffoons rousing on topics that concern the effervescent squared circle, along with their benevolent, majestic, handsome zookeeper. Omega BR, who I am, will lead you on a journey into the masterful world of our most primal emotion, the hedonistic. Join me, won't you, as we delve into the most beautifully honest place a man can go, the World Wide Web, and all she has to offer us. Tonight, we begin with a tale of cruciation and pang. Two men, star-crossed to bare their souls to one another, must come to terms with their truest of feelings, and one other man, whose naivety may end up robbing him of his very innocence. As read by Gunnar, this is The Love Goat.
Kane, remember what Dr. Shelby taught us? Daniel Bryan said slowly. He backed away from the big red monster, who had a chair held above his head. He braced himself for the inevitable. "Fuck Dr. Shelby," he snarled, before he chucked the chair at Daniel. It hit him in the side. He crossed the room and grabbed Daniel's throat in his hand. "You know, his son looked very nice in that goat mask." Daniel kicked Kane in the groin. Momentarily distracted, he was able to escape Kane's hold. "No! I don't have a goat face. No! 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 You even bleat like a goat," Kane snickered. The snicker quickly escalated into a full-blown maniacal laughter. Daniel raised one of his eyebrows and took a step back. "Man, I wish Harold was here right now. I need to throw someone into a fiery inferno like you wouldn't believe." Daniel thought back to the evening where he and Kane disposed of Harold like trash. He started laughing slowly, and it too quickly escalated into full-blown laughter. The two fell to the floor in hysterics. "Come on, let's hug it out," Daniel finally said. He got to his feet and waited until Kane was also at his feet before holding his arms out. The big red monster followed suit, and they hugged for a few moments. "Maybe Harold is around somewhere. Let's go find him," Kane suggested. The two started off to go and find Harold. Daniel Bryan did have anger issues. Everyone in Dr. Shelby's class did, although none more than he and Kane. While the rest of the class thought they were insane, they knew otherwise. They just liked to fool around and have fun. Sure, they did get out of hand at times, like with the chair incident, but in the end, they'd always hug it out, and things would be normal again. What nobody else knew, though, was the relationship the two had. Yes, they were friends, but they were more than that behind closed doors. It was mostly sex, but there was love there, too. This brought Daniel to the present, where he handcuffed to the bedpost by all four extremities. His right wrist and ankle were shackled together and cuffed to the right bedpost, and likewise with his left wrist and ankle. Kane had stuffed a sock down his throat and wrapped a sheet around his mouth to keep it in place. He had an array of colorful cock rings tied around his dick, a pulsating 12-inch dildo, about to torpedo into his unprepared, ripened asshole. They definitely loved things kinky. "I dare you to tell Dr. Shelby about this," Kane growled into Daniel's ear. He bit the lobe painfully and tugged momentarily while he drove the dildo into Daniel's ass. He yelped around the sock as Kane pushed the vibrating toy all the way inside of him. The pain was unbearable. Tears started to prickle at the corner of his eyes. But behind all the pain pushing through the surface was insurmountable pleasure. His stomach tightened, but he didn't come thanks to the rings. He wailed desperately, hoping Kane got the message. He did, but wasn't about to do anything about it. "I wonder if Harold would enjoy this," Kane wondered, mostly to tease Daniel, who writhed under his weight. He lowered his mouth through Daniel's untouched member and took him into his mouth, deliberately gagging himself. He saw the desperation in Daniel's eyes and smirked around his cock. "Want me to take off those rings?" Kane asked huskily. "They look so nice wrapped around your dick, though." Kane pulled the dildo out of Daniel's ass, much to Daniel's dismay. With a sadistic grin, he replaced the dildo with his own dick. He was also stretched out and nearly gaped around Kane's length for a few moments before his heat tightened around him. With a grunt, he pushed forward until he was fully seated within the smaller man. In one motion, he undid the gag from Daniel and released the groans and moans erupting from his mouth. "Do you want me to come in your ass?" Kane asked throatily. Daniel, shaken from built-up sensations in his body, could only nod frantically. Kane pushed in once more, released inside Daniel's ass. He rode through his orgasm slowly until the overstimulation started to prickle at his spine. He pulled out, and one at a time started to pull the colorful rings off of Daniel's cock. Once the last one came off, he exploded over his own chest. "You really couldn't wait for that, could you?" Kane laughed darkly. Daniel joined him and pulled him close for a kiss. The two laughed darkly together, until eventually they succumbed to sleep. At their next anger management class, Kane and Daniel kept sharing looks with each other. This added to the uneasiness rolling off their classmates, yet none of them more than Harold. The poor guy was practically lodged up Dr. Shelby's ass, shaking in fear. "Now, class, I had you all write down what makes you angriest this week. Would you take out your papers?" Dr. Shelby asked with a smile. Once most everyone had their papers out, he began speaking again. "Okay, let's have, Daniel share first what makes him angry. Daniel, if you'd please." Daniel stood up and held his paper up for the class to look at. In a thick black marker, he had written one word across his paper. "Yes." "I see, Daniel. Would you care to explain what this means?" Dr. Shelby asked. "It makes me angry when people continually shout 'yes' at me when I only want to shout 'no,'" he explained easily. "I get into people's faces and they still mock me. Do they not know who I am?" "I know who you are," Harold offered weakly. "Shut up, Harold!" Daniel screamed. He shrunk backwards in fear. "As I was saying, I really hate it when people mock me with my old saying." "Yes, I see," Kane piped up from his seat. "Yes, I see how that can be annoying. Yes, I do." Daniel whipped his head around and glared at Kane. He had a smirk set across his face. "Yes," Kane said again. "Yes, yes, yes." "Shut up!" Daniel hissed at him. Now, calm down, Daniel," Dr. Shelby mediated from his seat. "Kane is simply agreeing with you. Please, take your seat." Daniel obeyed with a snarl in Kane's direction. Kane stood up next and held up his paper. "Harold." Harold's eyes went wide. "Kane, would you care to explain what your paper means?" Dr. Shelby asked, totally oblivious to the way Harold crawled further up of his ass. "Harold pisses me off," Kane explained. "Right now I want nothing more than to stuff him in that trash can over there and set it on fire again." "Let's not do that, Kane. Remember our last lesson. You can't go around setting people on fire if they anger you," Dr. Shelby reminded him. "Yeah, Kane, remember," Daniel piped up from his seat. Kane looked at him with narrowed eyes. "Shut it, goatface," Kane retorted. Daniel stood up and looked up into Kane's eyes. "Don't call me goatface. I don't look like a goat," Daniel snapped back. "He doesn't look like a goat, Kane," Harold chimed from where he hid behind Dr. Shelby. "Shut up, Harold," they screamed together. "Good job, partner," Daniel said, wiping his hands together.
User in your
Kane
channel
did the
timed
same.
out.
They cast a glance to their side, where Harold was bound by ropes, surrounded by a ring of fire. Together they started to laugh. Kane held his arms out, and Daniel hugged him. Once they hugged it out, Kane leaned down and kissed Daniel for a moment. They kissed a few times before locking arms and walking away from the inferno encasing Harold. Yeah, the relationship wasn't normal, but regardless, they loved each other and would stick together through whatever came their way. Including Harold. Especially Harold.
From this we can conclude that true love exists in all shapes and sizes and leathers. Since the dawn of man, He has sought that which brings pleasure, from the warmth of the fire, to the spin of the wheel, to the pure bliss that using his genitalia against any and all surfaces can and will bring him. As performed by Sir Smark Henry, here is the joy of being spongy.
If requested.
It's requested. Now.
Michael looked up. Cupcake looked so delicious even though his frosting was hard, and he had a bag of some sort. You were too rough on him, Cupcake said. To top, you need to learn to pace yourself. You do not have the kind of willpower that takes. You will be punished for this. The frosting softened, but since it is your birthday, the punishment could wait. Michael Cole looked on as Cupcake drew a candle out of the bag. Cupcake lit the candle and told Michael to blow it out. Michael did, and as the smoke dissipated, he was commanded to suck on the candle. Without questioning anything, Michael wrapped his mouth around the candle and sucked until Cupcake pulled it out of his mouth. Michael was flipped onto his stomach, and his legs were spread to give access. Cupcake held the candle at Michael's entrance and slowly penetrated the opening. Michael groaned in desire at the hardness that was filling him. Cupcake continued to move the candle in and out of Michael Cole. He only stopped with the candle when Michael groaned in release. Cupcake withdrew the candle and laid it to the side. He turned Cole over and started to place his frosting on Michael's chest, causing Michael Cole to become aroused again. After Michael was hard again, Cupcake reached for the candle. He laid Michael on his back and told him, "Hold your legs apart." Cupcake inserted the candle again. Michael Cole let out a breathy moan of desire. What shocked Michael was when the Cupcake inserted the other end of the candle into himself. Michael knew this was going to be as close to being on top as he was possibly going to get. "You can move," Cupcake murmured, and Michael groaned as he moved against the candle. As he and Cupcake moved, Michael Cole's chest would brush against Cupcake's frosting. Cole couldn't help but make pleasured noises. He could feel the tension building up, and he knew that he was reaching his release. He finally reached his peak and came onto his stomach. Cupcake nodded at him. He then released his delicate frosting onto Michael's stomach. Cupcake withdrew off the candle and said, "Clean up, Michael. You look pathetic."
Truly the confectionery will be the downfall of a stone-faced man, or a stoned-faced man, for that matter. Stop me if you've heard this tale previously. A young girl, blameless, clean-handed, and unadulterated in the ways of the world, comes across a bevy of strapping gents, eager to induct her into the ways of man. What follows is a tawdry mess of broken dreams and cold, tearful sensations that justice, as perverse as she is, cannot bear to witness. But damn, I certainly can. From the supple lips of Vassar Vavasseur is a modest proposal.
The young woman skipped down the hall, humming to herself carelessly. The diva's mind was preoccupied with thoughts of her and Ziggy's date tonight. AJ turned the corner and proceeded without seeing the man with his back turned. With a hard thud, she ran into his back, almost like bumping into a brick wall. Being stopped in her tracks, "Ouch! Sorry about that," she muttered as the man turned to face her. The color drained from her face once she noticed it was Dean Ambrose of the Shield. It's like, well, what do we have here? Are you lost, kitten? He asked with a sinister tone. She took a step back, putting her hands up. "Oh no, it's nothing like that," she said with a slight shudder in her voice. Those few steps back came to an abrupt stop as another figure appeared behind her. She looked up slowly, turning around to see another man. He pulled back his long hair out of his face, and as he peered down at her, his gray eyes stared daggers through her soul. The Shield was a dangerous group, but Roman seemed like the most threatening. The situation was becoming more dangerous. For a split second, she wondered where their third member was. She stepped forward and turned her back to some double doors so she could face both of them. Now, boys, let's not get worked up. I have people who will be looking for me, she mentioned as she pulled her hair out of her face and behind her ear. Ho ho ho, that sounds like a threat. Dean chuckled, closing in the space between him and Roman. Your blonde bimbo of a boy toy, and puppy Big E don't scare us in the least, little girl, Roman growled. They began to walk closer to her, blocking any way she could run. The door behind her clicked. Her heart skipped as she thought it would be her chance to escape. Someone was going to save her from these dogs. The door opened, and as she glanced back, the sight of the third member sank her heart. Seth Rollins placed his hand on her shoulder and he pulled her back to his chest. How about we have a little conversation? He asked as the smirk formed on his face. The other two started moving in closer as Seth pulled her backwards into the room. Come on, guys, this isn't funny. I haven't done anything for you to treat me like this, AJ said, trying to pull Roland's arm off of her. Ambrose closed the door behind them and secured it with a chair and the push bars. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? She snapped, trying to pull his hands off her. Roman grabbed her left arm, tearing her from Seth's grip. You know, girl, Punk isn't the only one who likes crazy chicks, he teased, holding her close to him. What did you just call me? She asked slowly. That word everyone keeps calling's eyes narrowed as she looked him in the face. Dean let out a laugh as he grabbed a fistful of her hair and yanked her back. Oh, do you see that, Scout Boys? I think that's a challenge. With that, he thrust her head forward, letting the brown locks of hair slip through his fingers. Roman then grabbed her by the face and kissed her deeply. He forced his tongue into her mouth, wrestling it against hers. Without second thought, she bit down, giving it a pinch. He pushed her away into Dean's chest and he let out a yell. You did crazy chicks, huh? She snapped as she whipped at her mouth. I'll show ya crazy. With that, she turned to Dean and jumped onto him, wrapping her legs around his waist and her arms around her neck, planting a deep kiss on him. He wrapped his arms around her, running his fingers up and down her back, pushing her shirt up. It was a shock, but the boys found it more alluring. She broke the kiss and dropped down from him. Rollins grabbed her hair, yanking her back, kissing her neck softly as Dean began to fidget with her pants. Seth came over, lifting her shirt and pulling her bra up to reveal her breast. She broke away from the kiss for a moment once she felt herself become exposed. She gasped softly as she felt his soft lips caress her erect nipple. Her belts and pants came off and were thrown behind them as they pulled her down to the floor. Her cheeks turned a soft shade of pink as Roman pulled her top and bra over her head and discarded it over his shoulder. As she sat up quickly, covering herself for a moment, she looked up at the three men eyeing her. She turned to Seth and leaned over his lap, pulling at his vest and kissing his neck at the chin line. She unzipped his vest, pulling it off his shoulders. The other two began to remove their vests and shirts as she turned to face them. She leaned forward and undid her high-top Converse and socks, rubbing her bare feet together and lifting her foot up to Dean, pressing it softly against his chest. Show me you really want it, AJ stated in a soft tone. Oh, sweet little AJ. It's cute how you think you're in control of this. With that, he pulled her foot over her other leg, turning her waist. He grabbed her lips and lifted her bum into the air, propping her on all fours. Before she could look back, a hand was on her jaw, forcing a thick member into her mouth. She looked up to see Seth licking his lips as he slid it in and out of her mouth slowly. She then felt another poke at her cheek as Roman gripped his huge cock, pushing it against the side of her lips. As one slid out, the other slid in. Unlike Seth, Roman was a bit more pushy. As she slightly gagged on it, hitting deep in her throat, a sudden spark of pleasure hit as she felt a hot breath from behind on her wet pussy. Dean flicked her clit with his tongue as he lapped up her juices. As Roman slid his cock in and out of her mouth, her saliva began to drip to the ground. Her head was beginning to go blank as she reached out to stroke Seth's dick so he wouldn't have to. With a grunt, Roman ejaculated in her mouth without a warning.
"Oh, girl, you know what you're doing."
He gasped as he pulled out. AJ began to open her mouth to spit it out, but Roman's large hand covered it.
"Don't insult me by wasting my gift to you."
He smirked at her as his gray eyes peered into hers. With a reassuring gulp, he removed his hand, and she panted, still feeling Dean's tongue explore her lower regions. The feeling of his fingers tracing along and marking the ways in and out of her twitching cunt was amazing. He then began to rub her asshole with his thumb and index and middle finger flick inside her. Before she could object to his actions, Seth shoved his cock deep into her mouth. The feeling of these men ravishing her made her heart race. She felt Dean shift from behind her, then the warm touch of the head of his member traced the outside of her cunt. She flinched a bit, but it slipped in so easily.
"You're already twitching around me. Are you excited to finally be penetrated?"
He teased, sliding it in further. She pulled away from Seth and catching her breath.
I don't like to be teased.
AJ responded, tried to hide the embarrassed look on her face. He slammed her into the base, making her let out a squeal that was interrupted by Seth re-entering her mouth once more. The rhythm of both Seth and Dean began to sync as they sped up. Her muffled moans were humming against Seth's dick, making him gasp and move his hips, pulled away from coughing and let out a whine as Ambrose slammed into her, thrusting her as far as he could. Seth smirked as he pulled the girl by the arm, taking her off of Dean. He laid back, pulling her on himself, sliding into her. He grabbed her hips and lifted them, then slammed them back down on himself. She sat up, moaning, and pulled her hair back out of her face. She began to grind her hips against him as he pinched and pulled her nipples, and rubbing her breasts. She looked down at the two-tone-haired man to see the pleasure in his eyes. She felt a hand on the back of her head and was pushed down face to face with Rollins. He looked at her lips as he continued to dill into her, squeezing her hips. She then felt a wet hand against her asshole that made her look back. Raines licked his fingers once more, covering his pointer and middle finger in saliva and rubbing it, slowly penetrating her sweet little ass. She then let out a high-pitched moan as Rollins kept slamming into her.
"Oh, wait, I didn't say."
AJ trying to keep her voice from shaking.
"I didn't ask."
He replied, flicking his fingers inside her, making her moan aloud. The overflow of pleasurable feelings was getting overwhelming and her moans were getting loud.
Now, we don't want to make too much noise or someone might come to investigate and ruin all our fun,"
Ambrose stated, turning her head to the side and putting his dick to her lips.
"This will keep you quiet,"
he said, gently pushing it against her mouth. Without a moment to lose, she opened up and licked the head and let him enter without a struggle. She moved her tongue around his thick member, sucking it gently as he moved in and out. But before she knew it, Roman removed his fingers and pressed his penis slowly into her. She could feel him enter as Rollins relaxed, and felt him deep inside her rectum as Rollins pushed as far as he could into her vag. She let out a muffled squeak as they all began to fuck and use every inch of her body to their liking. Her eyes rolled as she felt an overload of pleasure and submission. It was something she never felt before and was easily losing herself in. Almost like a pack of wild animals, they pounded away at her as if they were trying to break her. AJ's mind was blank as the sweat beaded off of her. It was like her whole being was on fire, and she didn't want it to go away. Seth could feel her tight pussy clenching around her as the juices ran down his dick and over his pelvis. He couldn't hold back any more as he let out a grunt and came deep inside of her. The feeling made her ass clench and her choke on the dick in her throat. The feeling was too much as Raines let loose and came inside of her, pulling out and letting the rest fall on her butt and lower back. She looked up to Ambrose as he let out a gasp and held the top of her head, letting loose and filling her pretty mouth with his cum and pulling out just to get the last bit on her face. Her body went limp as Dean and Roman pulled away. Seth rolled over her back, letting her lay there to catch her breath. After a few moments, the guys got dressed. Seth gathered her clothes and placed them near her.
You're a fun one, AJ. You'll hear from us again,
he said. Ambrose brought her a towel and knelt down next to her, wiping her face off a bit.
Till then, I hope that boyfriend of yours will still be able to satisfy you.
She grabbed the towel from him and wiped off. She stood up, gathered her clothes in her arms without saying a word. AJ quickly got dressed and combed out her hair with her fingers. Her legs still a bit shaky and her head still a bit light. She watched as Rollins removed the chair from the door and opened it for her. She let out a big sigh as she closed her eyes to gain her composure. AJ then looked at them and gave them a big smile before skipping out the door and back down the hall to where she was originally heading.
As a wise man once said, "Hey girl, are you a truck stop? Because I have a semi." Our next presenter needs no introduction. A moot point indeed. As soon after encountering him in a darkened library or internet cafetorium, you find yourself bound and gagged, trembling in the boot of a motor vehicle that will soon resemble your final resting place in a steel drum buried leagues under the ocean in a sea of mud and despair.
Raunchy at the Slammies, The After Party, by Christy and Frederick Dice Cardison. Looking onto his flip cam, Zack Ryder, wearing his wrestling trunks, grins. Welcome to a special episode of The True Long Island Story. I'm your host, the Internet Champion, and the winner of 2 Slammies, one for Superstar Transformation of the Year, and the other for Trending Superstar of the Year, and soon to be the United States Champion, Long Island IZ, Zack Ryder. Zack says before pausing. Now what makes this a special edition is that one of my broskies named Dax, who has been helping for one of my other broskies, Evan Airborne, to produce his web series, Born for Greatness, tweeted me saying I should do something similar to get even more viewers from my hit web series. And I was like, bro, that's genius! And joining me for the special episode is my latest broski of the week, the original raunchy redhead of the WWE, 4-time women's champion, the lovely Lita. Zack says as he turns his flip cam and aims it to Lita, who is wearing only an oversized broski t-shirt that Zack gave her earlier in the night. Lita crosses her arms against her chest, raises an eyebrow and looks at Zack. Oh my God. You were serious about all this? Zack grins. Of course I was serious, bro. Zack replies as he keeps the flip cam aimed at Lita. Lita laughs nervously and shakes her head before she glances down at the floor. And my career has officially gone south. From the rated R sex celebration to, this. Wow. Are you serious, bro? Says Zack. You can't top this. And this can get you into the other shows too. The show the WWE Universe that you still got it. Zack said excitedly. Lita raised her hand up and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. She pressed it against her sultry and sinful lips. Hold on just a second. I still have it, as you found out earlier tonight. I never lost it. Zack grinned. Oh, I know that, but the WWE Universe hasn't really seen you in action for years. Lita sighed and shook her head. Well, I guess things have been worse off for me than appearing in this web show with you. I mean, I was once pregnant with Kane's baby. Bro, I didn't know you and Kane could get it up before that happened, Zack said jokingly. Lita rolled her eyes and then pressed her lips together before she looked at Zack. Let's just get this over with. Lita says before she lifts her oversized t-shirt off her sinfully hot, beautifully toned and tanned body, exposing her large and juicy tits, with her juicy, sultry ass, and her completely shaved pussy. "Oh, sweet, bro," Zack said excitedly, as he aimed the flip cam up and down to capture the footage of Lita's gorgeous body, while he uses his free hand to push down his wrestling trunks from his waist, feeling his rapidly hardening Long Island cock. Lita raised her left hand through her fiery red hair before she lowered herself down to her knees in front of Zack. Placing her left hand around his cock, she began to stroke its head. Zack moaned as he filmed Lita stroking up his long, thick shaft at it firmly hardened in her grasp. Lita raised an eyebrow and slyly smirked up at Zack before she lowered her head and started to slide her sinfully talented tongue around the head of his Long Island cock. "Oh, fuck," Zack moaned as he filmed Lita smirking up at him, the flip cam as she flicked her tongue over the head of his rock-hard cock, while she kept moving her left hand along the length of his pole. Lita seductively moaned as she worked her wet tongue around the head of his cock, swiftly moving her hand along his shaft. "Oh," Zack Ryder moaned as Lita twirled her tongue around the head of his cock, perfectly coating it with her saliva. She teasingly slapped her pierced tongue against the head of Ryder's cock before she parts her lips and guides him onto her sinfully hot mouth. "Oh, yeah, Zack moaned as Lita wrapped her lips around the meaty Long Island cock while she kept looking up at him on the flip cam. Lita seductively moaned around Ryder's cock as she swiftly began to bob her head back and forth, with her lips brushing along his cock. "Oh, fuck yeah, bro. Oh, yeah," Zack moaned as she sucked and slurped on his long, rock-hard dick. Lita moans as she steadily works her head back and forth, guiding his cock deeper into her mouth. The former edgehead licked his teeth as the raunchy red-headed diva swallowed well over half of his cock into her mouth with ease. Lita moans as she removed her head from his shaft in order to place both of her hands onto his tanned, nicely muscular and toned ass so she could briskly bob her head back and forth, and his cock dripping with her saliva. "Oh, shit. Fuck," Zack Ryder groaned as Lita sucked, slurped, and slobbered on his cock, throwing herself fully into performing for the flip cam as Zack filmed her for his web show. Lita moans her softly silkened lips and dragged back and forth across his shaft. "Oh, yeah, yeah," Zack moaned loudly as Lita turned her head sharply one way and then the other. Lita lifted her head off his cock, while her seductive lips popped as she started to slide her tongue around the head of his cock once again. "Oh, damn, bro. You could teach a class on sucking cock," Zack moans as he keeps his flip cam perfectly still as Lita teased the head of his saliva-coated dick. Lita then lifted her head away with a toss of her fiery red hair. "Maybe you should just be quiet." "Are you serious, bro?" Zack asked as Lita raised her head from the floor and moved over to a large leather couch. Yeah," Lita said with a nod of her head. "You won't say too many things that are stupid, at least once we get going," Lita said with a smirk before she knelt down on the couch. Zack laughed. "Oh, you were just jerking my chain. I gotcha, bro." Zack said as he walked over towards the couch and stood behind Lita, as she leaned forward and placed her hands on the top of the couch's backrest. Zach then aimed his flip cam at Lita's juicy ass and gorgeous pussy, and gave her ass a smack with his free hand before guiding his Long Island tool into her tight wet snatch. Fuck, Lita groaned and licked her lips as she started to rock forward on her knees as Zach thrust into her wet pussy from behind. Oh, fuck, Zach groaned as he placed his free hand on Lita's waist and as he films his cock pumping in and out into Lita's cunt. Lita moans as she rocks back and forth on her knees, with her nicely rounded, juicy ass smacking against Zach's toned waist. Oh, Zach groaned as he thrust his cock briskly in and out of her pussy, and she rocked against him. Oh, shit. Lita moans as she rocks back and forth on her knees, feeling each and every one of his thrusts pounding into her. Yeah, Zach moaned as he raised the flip cam to film Lita's ass smacking against his waist as she rocked back against the pistoning cock. Lita gritted her teeth and gripped the backrest of the couch so her juicy ass could smack against his waist even harder, buckling back against his cock to push against him. Oh yeah, bro, yeah, Zach moaned as he increased the pace of his thrust and drives his cock deeply into Lita's snatch while he skillfully films it all with his flip cam. Fuck yeah. Oh shit, yeah. Lita moans as she licked her teeth. She rocked on her knees, moving against Zach's hard tool eagerly. Zach smirked as Lita lustfully rocked back against him as he hammers her pussy with a swift and deep set of thrusts. Yeah, shit. You like that pussy? Lita asked with a moan as she grinded back against him. Oh, fuck yeah, you know it, bro. Zach replies with a grunt as he drives his cock balls deep into Lita's pussy. After a few more thrusts, Zach pulls out and sits on the couch, which allows then Lita to straddle his lap and lower herself down onto his Long Island cock. Lita licks her teeth, and places her hands onto his toned and trimmed chest and begins to rock back and forth on his cock, grinding her pussy down against him. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Zach moans as Lita grinds her snatch down on his cock, and she rocks onto it. He brings the flip cam up where he can film Lita's large, juicy tits, swaying as she rides him. Oh, yeah. Lita moans as she tosses her hair from side to side and rocks and bounces on top of his cock. Zach then licks his teeth as he starts to thrust his cock upwards even harder into Lita's cunt as she bounces on his shaft. Oh yeah, Lita moans as she smirkly and slyly looks at him, and she bounces up and down on his cock, swiftly lowering and rising again and again. Oh yeah, bro, fuck yeah. Zach groans as Lita bounces briskly up and down on his thrusting shaft. Oh yeah, Lita groans as she slides her hands against his chest while rocking back and grinding. Zach places his free hand back on Lita's waist as she wildly rides his cock, and he keeps thrusting it up into her snatch. Yeah, oh fuck yeah. Lita moans as she sharply grinds him down on his cock, feeling him deeply pumping into her pussy. Oh shit, yeah, bro. Zach groans as he turns himself so he can lay Lita on the couch on her side while getting on top of her, continuing to hammer her cunt with his rock-hard cock. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, oh yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh. Lita and Zack continue, but Lita moans as her pussy becomes more wet as Zack continues to drive his cock into her. Sweat drips down Zack's toned and tanned body as he plows his Long Island cock repeatedly into Lita's snatch while still perfectly holding his flip cam to film as much as the action as possible. Oh, oh yeah, oh. Lita moans and then grits her teeth as she begins to suddenly come. Oh, fuck, bro! Zack groans as his cock starts to throb and Lita's twat clenches down upon his shaft as she comes on his pistoning tool. Oh, oh yeah, oh fuck, oh yeah. Lita moans and significantly looks at Ryder as she grinds back against him. Oh yeah, bro, yeah, fuck, yeah. Zack groans as he keeps hammering Lita's snatch and his cock starts to throb more intensely. Oh, yeah, fuck, yeah. Lita groans and sharply grinds back against his cock as Zack continues to pound Lita's twat for several more moments before he pulls his throbbing cock out and moves off the couch. Stroking his cock with his free hand, Zack films Lita on the flip cam as she sits up and moves off the couch to quickly kneel on the floor. Lita raises an eyebrow and slyly looks up at Zack, licking her lips as she watches him stroking the cock. Oh, oh. Zack moans as he aims his cockhead in Lita's face. When he starts to come, Zack perfectly films his spunk, splattering on Lita's smirking face. She seductively smirks and keeps her eyes open as she looks up at Ryder and the warm cum drips down her face. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh. Zack moans as he continues to stroke the cock as more cum sprays down from his piss slit. Lita moans and licks her lips as she keeps her head slightly tilted with his cum dripping down her face. When he's finished, Zack lets go of his cock, but keeps the flip cam aimed down at Lita. The broskies on the net are gonna love seeing that you still got all the moves. Woo woo woo. Lita then raises an eyebrow and smirks. Oh, wait. Yeah, bro? Zack asks. Who do I talk to about getting my own show? Trips and Steph, says Zack. Lita smirks and then nods her head. I'll remember that. The end.
Just as in primary school, I give him a B for performance, but an A just for coming. Our final parable exemplifies the very existence that we all endure. For as we emerge from the womb, we are but blank slates, eager to be written on and filled with the whimsy of the world. Yet as we mature, we come to realize the fiction that may lay before us, when tales of jolly saints and their presence are but mere calumny, when supermen that roam the skies and speed past our locomotives are resigned to the immeasurable caverns of the page. Can this be all there is? Hath every rock been overturned? Nay, say those who dare to dream, who challenge the world laid before them, who allow their minds to wander into territory not frequently traveled, yet so desperately desired. They are called fanatical, for they are full of fantasy, and the sheer will to see them come to fruition. They are the dreamers. They are the magic men. They are our very future yet to be realized. Spoken by Mince. This is twobears.txt.
It has always been a fantasy of mine to be a sex slave for two bears, male and female, pleasing the male while he's tired and vice versa. Slowly sliding my lips up and down his thick shaft, tasting his precum on my tongue. Once he's had enough of that, he rolls over onto his back, lifting me up as though I weighed nothing. Gently placing me onto his cock, I guide him in, feeling him stretch me wide open. I moan with pleasure, feeling him fill me up. He growls softly. I feel it rumble deep in my chest, vibrating all the way down his body and through mine. He continues to lift me up, and then pulls me down. He's doing all the work for me. It feels so good. The warmth of his fur, his paws either side of my waist. He is in total control. I am just nothing compared to his vast size and strength, but I have total trust in him. I know he won't hurt me. I feel the pace quicken, almost imperceptibly. I slowly stroke myself, feeling myself nearing the point of no return, coming closer with every stroke. I can hear the growl getting louder now. He speeds up even more, forcing me further and further down on his thick cock. If it wasn't for the fact that my body's releasing so many endorphins, I would be begging, probably be screaming in agony. Except I am panting and whining, just like a bitch, begging her mate to fill me up. His claws dig in deeper. The pain is exquisite. It sends me over the edge. My head goes back. I let out a short grunt. I feel my cock explode, covering his chest fur in my seat. I keep stroking. It looks as though I'm trying to rip my cock out. I let out another grunt. Another torrent flows forth, and then another, and another. A drop lands on the beast's muzzle. He seems confused for a moment. That's what I think. He digs his paws in even harder now and slaps me onto his cock. I feel his grumble turn into a roar. He's coming. Oh my God, I can feel him filling me up. It's indescribable. He's mating with me. He's claimed me. I feel him now, slow, his cock still throbbing within me. It seems as though there's no more room for his cum. It's dripping out of me onto his fur. I reach down and then bring my hand up, tasting him. It's more than I ever expected. It's heaven.
Yes, yes, good show indeed. And so there you have it, a collection of the finest tomes of our time, forever immortalized in sound and speech. I ponder generations upcoming and how they will receive these wondrous tales. Probably with a laser ray of some sort. I have been Omega VR, and, if you'll excuse me, I have oiled gentlemen to tend to.
Kimberly Page, on her way to the locker room, located in the other, dressed in a black leather mini CW t-shirt. She walks right by the open. Scott sees Kimberly and smirks. Damn, is she sexy. Nice big tits to himself. Although, her pussy is probably on the outside with the bad guy. Scott leaves his locker room and jogs a bit to catch up to Kimberly. Hey, Kim. Oh, hello, Scott. I didn't see you back there. I was in my locker room, Scott smirks. Kimberly nods and smirks. Oh, I see. Is there anything I can... Scott laughs. Well, I was wondering if you wanted to hang out for a while, since all of us NWO guys are matches tonight by the suits of WCW. Kimberly shrugs. Sure, I don't see why not. When they enter, they both... Kimberly sighs and Scott notices it. Something bothering you, Kim? Yes, it's Dallas. He's not quite getting the job done. Oh, you mean he's coming up short in the ass? In the sack, Scott asks. Yes, basically. And marriage is becoming less than stellar because of it. Damn, sorry to hear that, although it is kind of funny. Kimberly laughs. Yeah, it is, but he is older than me. Guess he's hit the wall. Scott laughs a bit. Hey, I gotta know, are those tits of yours real? Of course they're real. What type of question is that? Well, with the things going on in the world today, chicks getting their knockers pumped up, I want to know. Okay then, you can have a feel, Kimberly says. Scott smirks and reaches with both hands. He starts squeezing them through her shirt and bra. Kimberly starts to moan slightly at the feel of his hands on her tit. You know, it's hard to get a good feel with that bra on, Scott says. Of course. Hold on. Kimberly reaches under. Scott licks his breast. Kimberly pulls the bra. Big white breasts don't sag to them. She makes causes them to sway. Scott feels his cock getting hardened. Kimberly then want to touch them. Oh yeah, Scott laughs, orbs by the bottom and Kimberly starts moaning Scott's skilled hand. Oh Scott, you have great hands, Kimberly moans. Thanks, Scott replies as he continues to toy huge breasts. These things feel fucking great. Thank you. She then looks down and sees the huge bulge in Scott's jeans, and it looks like I'm not the only one packing something large. As Scott bounces Kimberly's breast with his palms, Kimberly starts squeezing Scott's crotch and starts unzipping his rings out like a jack-in-the-box. Good lord, she says. Scott laughs a bit. I should have told you. I don't. Kimberly nods her head and grips Scott's thick meat by the base up and down. Oh, fuck. Scott moans as he lets go of Kimberly's big tits. Kimberly looks up at his face. Fuck yeah, I would, Scott says with a wild smile. His thick cock throbs in anticipation. Kimberly starts licking the edges of Scott's cock before taking the tip and lashes his cock, licking every centimeter of it, taking her tongue across. Scott relaxes a bit and leans back on the couch as he's completely enjoying the lovely brunette sucking his cock. Oh, fuck. You're so damn good. Kimberly replies by ever slowly moving her mouth down his throbbing cock, moaning a bit as she tastes. The hairs of Scott's cock brushes against Kimberly's nose as she hums on Scott's body. Oh God. Fuck, Scott moans as he starts running his fingers through. Kimberly moves herself down to the floor without taking her. Kimberly has Scott life his legs onto her shoulder as she presses her mouth down hard against his dick, swallowing every inch. Buried down in his cock, her bottom lip presses heavy balls, and soon she starts grabbing, resulting in saliva pouring out. Oh God, you're so big. It'll feel great in my pussy. Yeah, but first, I want to fuck. He stands up and grips the back of his cock down on. As he invades her mouth with his dick, Scott looks down to watch the gagging expression. Scott then speeds up his thrust and starts banging against her chin rapidly. He reaches around and grabs ass cheeks and pulls herself forward, forcing herself. When she starts sucking down on the base of his dick, Scott holds her head down. Kimberly stays down as she coughs to all over Scott's dick. Oh shit, that's one of the best blowjobs I've ever gotten. I was glad you liked it. But you look like you're gonna burst. I feel like it, Scott answers, starts thrusting in and out. As he holds on to her, he pushes his tongue as he fucks her face. Aw shit, here I come, Scott moans. He holds Kimberly's head down on his dick, starts to come down her throat, and within minutes, her mouth is overflowing with Scott's, the rest of Scott's. Oh God, I swallowed, Kimberly. That's not a bad thing, Scott laughed. Now how about I have a taste of that juice? You bad boy, Kimberly laughs as she takes off her. Now standing before Scott in just her black NWO panties, she sits down on the couch, then turns to face Scott. She then lifts her ass off the couch, and when she gets them down to her ankles, Scott pulls and looks at Kimberly's pussy. When she spreads her lips to show him the slight butt. Damn, that looks tasty, Scott. Scott nibbled. Then he God, oh God! Kimberly moans, and Scott sends her into echo throughout the thrusts his tongue in her pussy. Don't stop! Kimberly moans. Scott continues to relive, which sends wave. Kimberly's body starts to tremble as she gets tightly with her hand as she starts to cut. Ah, fuck! Oh hell, sweet Jesus almighty, Kimberly, as she bucks her pussy against Scott's face, and Scott lets Kimberly come down from her climax before he reaches up and pushes them into, letting the gorgeous woman taste him. You taste like honey, Scott. Oh, shut up and fuck me, Kimberly. Yes, ma'am, Scott laughs. He's standing hard cock into Kim's pussy. Oh shit, your Scott's hard thrusting. She grabs hold of Scott's shoulders while her legs were harder and fast. Down on Kimberly as while trying to match every thrust. Scott places Kimberly's legs on his shoulder. He can better lean down and suck on her hard nipples. Scott continues to squeeze Kimberly's and sucks on her nipple. Oh fuck. Oh God, fuck me harder please. Make me come. Oh God, Kimberly cries. She arches back upward and reaches her hands. She starts digging her perfectly cut fingernails into his skin just as Scott wraps his arms around her waist and picks her up from the he wraps her beautiful legs around his waist, holding on him tightly as possible as the impact of his cock. Out in the hall, various people walk by the locker room and hear the noise from what, but no one bothers to see what is going on. Fuck, I gotta tap that ass. Scott quickly gets her into the doggy style position and inserts his cock into her asshole. Ah, ow, God, Kimberly screams as Scott fucks her butthole relentlessly. Her large tits swing back and forth under her body as she pushes back again as she hits the boy. Oh God, I'm gonna come. Oh God, Kimberly cries out as she reaches between her legs and her fucking her soaking cunt. Her pussy clamps down as Scott thrusts me. Fuck, Kimberly screams as she comes so hard her body shakes. Behind her, Scott continues banging. Scott places his hands on her. Oh fuck, Kim, get ready. I'm gonna bust one, Scott groans. He slows down his movement so he's prolonged the time he's fucking. Soon, however, he starts to come. He grabs onto her ass thrust. Oh, fuck, it's so hot, Kimberly moans as she feels her ass being filled up with. After Scott finishes blowing, he and Kimberly take a moment to catch. Scott then pulls out of her ass and smiles. Shit, that was incredible. You're fucking a lot better than those other Tro sluts. But of course I am. The new first to say anything, Scott laughed. Good, Kimberly smiled. God, that was so hot. Scott laughs.